Cool, thank you. So I am super excited to announce Guillaume Chaslot, who I think has done more than anyone to bring attention to the issue of toxic recommendation systems and YouTube promoting conspiracy theory. He's founder of the independent watch group AlgoTransparency, as well as a former Google AI engineer. And here's Guillaume Chaslot, and he came here all the way from France for this.
Thank you, Rachel, for inviting me. So in this talk, I'm going to talk first about my experience at YouTube to see what the mentality of the industry is, to give the example of toxic feedback loops that I saw on YouTube and other places, and try to generalize and start from that to see how we can understand and control AIs that are complex and smarter than us. So my background, I started working on Computer Go when I was at the University of Maastricht. And so that was a very well-defined project. It was like the next big thing for AI after chess. So it was extremely exciting. We got the best Go program at the time. And then I went to work to Microsoft Research and then Google and YouTube. At YouTube, I was working on the recommendation engine. So to give an idea of YouTube scale, it's 2 billion users and more than 1 billion hours watched per day. But more than 70% of the watch time comes from the AI in terms of recommendations. So for instance, on the home page, on the right of the video, so there's one little AI that decides what people watch for 700 million hours a day. So that's just completely crazy. But we were just a small team, so we had absolutely no idea what people were watching. We couldn't possibly know what they were watching. So we knew that music was big, we knew that games were big, but we were just watching at metrics, we were watching at watch time, we were watching click-through rate, etc. We didn't know the videos themselves and their impact on society. So we were focused on the OKR, which were engagement metrics and especially watch time. And there was very little incentive to investigate bad stuff happening, bias, harm, etc. Because basically, when you do like so many cool things, like you don't want to be the party pooper. You don't want to be the one saying, hey, look, we could be doing bad things. So nobody wants to do that. So in the end, we had a huge impact, and I know exactly how much impact I had on increasing watch time, but I have no idea if I had a positive or negative impact. So I'm not the only one to talk about the problem of maximizing engagement. François Chollet, who's a top deep learning expert at Google, says that optimizing for a narrow opportunistic definition of engagement is basically the same as seeking to waste the most human potential with maximum efficiency. And that should be reversed. But it's very difficult to reverse when the business incentives are at the exact opposite. And there's a lot of bad things that actually are really good at engagement. So for instance, conspiracies, divisiveness, radicalization, terrorism, all these things seem pretty terrible, but for the metric of engagement, they're pretty amazing. So now that they're amazing, does it mean that the AI is going to amplify them? And how could the AI amplify them? Well, there could be some feedback loop. So let's start with this type of content that's good for engagement. So naturally, the AI recommends it more. Then YouTubers notice that this content is great, so they make more of this content. So the content is of even better quality, so it's even better for engagement. And then you have like a complete vicious circle. So I wanted to see which kind of which kind of things was the YouTube algorithm I worked on recommending the most. And I wanted to do that from the outside of Google. So I created AlgoTransparency.org. And the idea is very simple. I start from some search result or list of channels from which I grab the last video. I follow the recommendation a few times, for instance, 5 times, and then I display which video was recommended the most. So the basic assumption is that if there is a feedback loop, then the videos will be recommended over and over again. So I will see them pop up on AlgoTransparency. And then I did that with some searches. So like, let's say, is the Earth flat or round? And then last year, last year, you ended up more often on videos telling you that the Earth was flat than videos that were telling you that the Earth was round. Because flat earthers spend a crazy amount of time on YouTube. So they increase the performance metric of my managers by a significant amount. So people make more of these crazy videos, etc., etc. But vaccines, also last year, vaccine causing autism was very recommended because, like, if you're a poor mom that's really worried about your child and you see a video like that, it's going to keep you watching. You're going to be concerned, like, wow, my God, what could happen? And then you watch and you watch. And yeah, that's great for engagement, not great for truth. So on global warming, that was again last year. So first they tell you that global warming is the biggest fraud in history. Then you have propaganda for Putin, and then in the end you had we have reptilian entities who run this world. Okay, so yeah, so that's what was happening still last year. So yeah, AlgoTransparency basically helps you to fast forward a few clicks. So you start somewhere and you just do a bunch of clicks and you see where you end up. So what happened during the election in 2016? Well, the most recommended channel that I saw from searches from Trump and Clinton was Alex Jones. And that makes sense because he's the biggest conspiracy theorist, and conspiracy theory is efficient for engagement. Divisiveness is efficient for engagement. And hatred is efficient for engagement. So Alex Jones combined all that together, and so it makes sense he was massively promoted by the algorithm. So these things that I'm talking about, last year also Zuckerberg made a blog post talking about that. He said, like, when you approach the borderline, like the policy line, where on the other side the content is blocked, then the engagement will go up. So you can see that Alex Jones, for instance, is very good. He was very good at surfing this borderline wave to go really up in engagement, and then he washed out. But basically, a lot of people on social media are just trying to surf this wave, trying to go as high as they can in the engagement, because then they get promoted by the algorithms. So Mark Zuckerberg said, okay, they should correct their algorithms and make the content less engaging as they approach the line. And that's something that should have been done 10 years ago, I think, both on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Yeah. Thanks. So that's one of the most important things about the way social media is designed right now, that there's two different algorithms. There's one engagement algorithm and then one policy algorithm. And so instead of having two algorithms, we need to combine them together to make something that makes sense together. Otherwise, you have this borderline wave. Also, an issue on YouTube is the AI used to promote terrorist content. So I notified my friends at YouTube that it was happening in January 2017, that I saw some terrorist content. being promoted. And the reason why it was promoted is that they wanted to wait for people to report content before they took it down. But initially, terrorist content was very engaging, so the algorithm was promoting it massively, like thousands of times. And then within a few hours, like someone would report it, and then a few hours later, someone will take it down. But then this process would take several hours, sometimes several days. And in the meantime, the video got thousands, tens of thousands of views. And then if you do that with thousands of videos, then you got millions and millions of views on terrorist content. So in October 2017, they changed their policy and they decided to detect automatically terrorist content with AI, and then that they shouldn't need to give it to a user first, that they could just take it down themselves. One thing that few people know is that they could have done that years earlier, and that it was just a bad policy decision that they didn't want to do that for a few years. Another problem on YouTube, combining with the bad AIs, is the Gameable algorithm. Like, there is very little incentive for YouTube to fight against this manipulation, because this manipulation, in the end, it just creates more engagement. So if the manipulation just creates more engagement, why would you fight about it? You don't lose money. So I went to my friends at YouTube. I told them, when I saw Alex Jones being so recommended, I'm like, there might be some people trying to game the algorithm here. And it's like, are you trying to see if there is political abuse of your algorithm? And he told me, no, political thing is fair game. We have people trying to abuse our ads, and that's like the most critical part for us, because ads is money, and political things, like, both sides could do it. Of course, he wouldn't say that right now, and I was, after I went public, I joked with him that I really helped his team getting more funding. He didn't. He admitted that he got more funding in his team, but he didn't find my joke really funny. Another thing that's been really disturbing on YouTube is the problem with pedophilia, and so that have started like in 2016. You had like these videos of problematic videos of little girls, and then YouTube deleted all clearly abusive videos, clearly sexual videos. But what happened in 2017? There was a French YouTuber that made a video showing that there was this seemingly innocent video, so little girls at the gym, little girl at the swimming pool, etc., etc., that were abused, that got millions and millions of views, and that there were clearly pedophiles watching them, because the comments made it crystal clear. So he made a report on that, and YouTube didn't really react that much. It deleted a few videos. And then 1 year later, he made another report, and YouTube deleted video and then blocked the comments, because then you block the comments, you don't see that it's actually viewed by pedophiles. But this video got millions of views, so it was pretty clear that it was not other little girls watching these videos. And in 2019, there was a YouTuber that talked about that, but in English, so then it blew up. There were 2 articles in the New York Times. Disney and Nestle pulled their ads out of YouTube. YouTube deleted a lot of videos, and again they deleted comments. Like, they just, instead of like trying to solve the problem, they just try to make it less visible that there is a problem. So basically, now think about it. If pedophiles are more engaged than others on YouTube, what does it mean? That it means that the AI is trying to increase the number of pedophiles with maximum efficiency. So because your AI is designed to optimize engagement, so that's normal. So the problem that we have here is not a content curation problem that we need to delete bad videos, it's an algorithmic amplification problem. And for a lot of different issues, so that's just one example, but for a lot of other issues, it's also the algorithmic amplification that's the problem. So in the face of all these problems on YouTube, what did YouTube do? Well, they did quite a lot of things, like October 2017, take down ISIS content automatically. February 2000, so it was 10 months after I talked to them about that. February 18, favor reputable content in search results. So it was about 1 year after I started talking about the issues of Alex Jones. Then they put Wikipedia snippets below conspiracy, so also a year after we talked about it. And in January, between January and June 2019, they reduced the number of conspiracy theory being amplified by YouTube by 50%. So, so that shows that they're doing something, that they recognize a problem. And now they also optimize for multiple goals. So they realize that, okay, just optimizing for engagement is not possible anymore. That's not, that can have a lot of bad side effects. So what about YouTube today? So this is a video that's massively recommended on YouTube right now. It's about Tesla and limitless energy. And this is so much BS that in the comments, people say, what, you don't even talk about limitless energy. So the limitless energy is there just for the clickbait. And it was recommended 4 million times in the last 3 days. So YouTube reduced conspiracy theory by 50%, but there's still quite a lot of them. So what are the most recommended channels? So it's not Alex Jones anymore. It's not QAnon as it was last year. It's Fox News and MSNBC, because they have this metric of like quality content, reputable sources. But still we see that the most divisive channels are the ones which are recommended the most. So is it really because people want divisive things, or is it because divisive content is just better for watch time? So now I'd like to zoom out a bit from just the YouTube example and think about general complex AI in general. How do you understand something that's extremely complex and that deals with a tremendous amount of data? So what I propose that first you look at the incentives of the AI, what is it trying to optimize, what is it trying to do? And then you assume, okay, what will it do if it has an unlimited amount of data, if it would be perfect? Well, then you realize for YouTube on pedophile content that if pedophiles are more engaged, it will just try to get as many people to be pedophile as possible. So that can be a problem. I'd like to, but it's not a problem all the time. Let's take another example, self-driving cars. So self-driving cars is something that a lot of people are scared of because it's a bit scary to have like this big piece of metal being driven by an AI. But if you apply this reasoning and you think, okay, the AI is only going to get better, well, if the self-driving car is designed to go from point A to point B as safely as possible, then there's very little incentive for Tesla to have something go wrong, because every accident is going to be a loss for Tesla. So in the end, self-driving cars will be fast and safe with the current incentive of Tesla. So it doesn't mean that we shouldn't regulate them at all, but I think a lot of people are way too scared about self-driving cars, and that's blocking innovation, and that's actually not saving lives, because the more we wait to have self-driving cars, the less people we can save by having better better drivers. But now what would happen if instead of a self-driving car built by Tesla, you'd have a self-driving car built by Google, and the amount of money they would earn would be the amount of time that people listen to ads. As crazy as this sounds, Waymo actually does have a patent for that. And of course, longer rides will generate a higher revenue. So of course, traffic jams would be good. So basically, with this patent, if we would just do that, we would feel very good to have like a free cab ride. But very soon there will be more and more traffic jam happening everywhere, and you wouldn't know why. You would just have gotten rid of your cars that you didn't need, and then more and more traffic jam. So you can see that by thinking about the incentive of the AI, you can easily predict in some cases what will happen. And the pedophile problem could have been predicted like 10 years ago. So as a conclusion, we have the top AIs of the world that are maximally wasting human potential. So that's a bit sad as an AI developer. And AI do get out of control, but they don't get out of control the way we expected them to. The problems are more about algorithmic amplifications on social media, and less about content curation. People talk a lot about content curation, but that's not the problem. And also the Gameable algorithm, the combination of AI and Gameable algorithm is a very dangerous combination, especially with state actor, which can understand the incentives of the AI and know how to game the algorithm, and with the platforms that have very little incentive to fight against that. On the keys for regulation, so is first to understand the incentives of the AI and to try to predict what could go wrong. And second, we always need transparency on AI's action, because a lot of things can go wrong that we didn't predict. So if we have transparency, if we know what the AI is doing, if everybody knows what the AI is doing, then we can see when something goes wrong. And with that, we could have seen maybe 10 years earlier about these pedophile networks, just because they were amplified so much by the AI. So if we had transparency on that, we could have noticed that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the talk. I know that I personally have lost some potential due to YouTube. So, ongoing. We'll figure it out. It's fine. I wanted to ask, since you mentioned on one slide that YouTube has now moved towards multi-objective recommendation algorithms, what are the kinds of other objectives out there? Like, regardless of whether or not YouTube is in fact using them, like, what kind of other ways can you create the objective on the recommendation algorithm, and how do you go about measuring them?
Exactly. So, so they said about it. If you want to check it out in the paper that they released in September this year. So they talk about the other metrics that they have. So, for instance, a number of shares, number of likes, dislikes, etc., etc. So it's only the metrics they have. The problem for me is that they don't have enough metrics. They don't have like basic information. So for instance, let's take back the limitless energy video. If you had like somewhere you can report and you say, okay, this is a deceiving video. It talked about the limitless energy and it doesn't actually talk about it. If you have like, hey, this is deceiving, then they have a new signal and they can also optimize and take this signal into account. But right now they have very little incentive to add more signals like that, because adding more signals kind of disrupts the YouTube flow, and then it makes you get out of YouTube. So so they prefer to use these implicit signals that are tricky, instead of using explicit signals that would be better.
Thank you. You mentioned on YouTube how problematic videos, the response was like, you know, well, okay, we'll delete the video, or, well, we'll delete the video and all the comments, and maybe we delete the user too. And I've seen this same behavior on multiple other platforms, partly because of laws about content creation versus publishing. I wonder, do you know, has anybody tried the opposite approach to say, hey, this video, this commenter, it's very problematic. Here's all of the information about them so everybody can know. In other words, to give away the information that would normally be kept private and say like, okay, well, the source of this problematic video, here's the IP address, here's everything we know about them.
Yeah, I don't think they would want to do that, because then, yeah, creators would be scared to post on YouTube. So, so in theory, yeah, that would be great, maybe. But in practice, I don't think they would do that.
Thank you for speaking with us. It's kind of sad hearing from an expert that AI is just wasting human potential.
Yep.
Do you have any faith that AI can enhance human potential? Like, what would that look like to you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. So when I was at YouTube, I proposed this mechanism to try to get you out of your filter bubble, to try to detect when you were scrolling endlessly and you want to do something else. And then you can use an AI to detect like another topic that's very similar, but that might be interesting. You can detect what are the videos that actually bring the most joy to people by analyzing comments. I mean, there are so many things that could be done, but the platforms don't have the incentive to do these things. And over competitors, it's really tricky to do that, because you have a barrier to entry that is too big. You can't just build the next YouTube. Thank you.